It is May of 2024, and I want to record some of my Hoya updates. Some of them are in fairly inaccessible locations, but yeah, let's start with one of my oldest Hoya. That is the Hoya carnosa, crinkle, Hindu rope, etc. It has been significantly downsized because I cut it up. I decided I didn't like it anymore. And I decided to hold on to some cuttings, which was smart because the person who got the original plant, I believe, has desiccated them. Living with that Hoya is some rooted cuttings of a classic Hoya carnosa. This was gifted to my family. We actually don't know what type, what origin, how old it is. For fancy purposes, let's call it an heirloom carnosa of sorts. So that is two different carnosas that kind of live together. This has been water propagating for about 2 months, and I think it is time for it to go into some sort of medium. Next one on the list is my Hoya australis lisa. It has clearly grown maybe one set of leaves since it has last been recorded. It is an extremely slow grower. I don't know what's up with it. It does... I thought it had mites at some point, but it is slowly putting out leaves. They're just very, very slow, doing their own thing, but there's these two teeny tiny little leaves that are coming out. This one's living in like another older Hoya. This is my Hoya linearis. Has been chopped and propped a few different times. Current length is about 40 or so centimeters, and several of its propagations are living elsewhere, growing slowly, turning long. There are, at some point, it had put out peduncles in the last year. This year, it looks like it has chosen not to do so. But yeah, Hoya linearis. The next update is my extremely sunburned Hoya polyneura. It's currently sitting very close to a couple grow lights, so I think that is why it is yellowing so intensely. At first I thought it was inconsistent water, but since it lives in a hydroponic system, I don't think so. So the leaves that are really close to the light are extremely yellow, but the newer leaves that keep growing further and further away are sort of restoring to our natural green looking color. There is a new shoot about to pop out, and there are several propagations of this as well. I'm noticing the leaf size is also decreasing over time. I'm not sure if that is a real trend, if that's a nutrient deficiency, no idea. And I am seeing that some of like the random splishy splashy pattern is also here and there. I wouldn't call this a polyneura splash by any means. But yeah, it is doing... It could be doing better. Yeah, it could be doing better. The next Hoya I have to update on is the Hoya lobii black, which is doing great. It is doing so great that it has flowered. The flowers are actually just starting to drop off. They are starting to dry out a little bit. I did attempt to pollinate them. I do not think I was successful, but we'll see probably soon. But it does look like the flowers are all starting to dry off, so I can expect this one to be going away sometime soon. Honestly, not the most aesthetically pleasing looking Hoya. It's got this extremely long stem. I've decided to get rid of the support stake and just let it dangle, because I think at least it takes up room in a less awkward manner. But yeah, extremely thick stem. I think if I had like 20 of these, maybe even 4, it could look good, especially if they were all blooming at the same time. But I suppose that's exciting, my first Hoya bloom. That actually fully made it to fruition. It's also got these little splashy patterns, but I'm not a big fan of that, or I'm neutral on it. This slightly more yellow leaf is probably also overexposure to sunlight. Yeah. The flowers are really cute. They're very drippy. But it was a fun experiment, so we'll see if this turns into seed pods or not. So that is one of my purchases from last year. I purchased it, I believe, with these two sets of leaves at the very, very bottom, and since then it's pushed out 3 more sets and flowers. Next up, I think a Hoya I purchased at a similar time frame. This is a Hoya Mathilde, non-splashy, but does have little bits of little pockmarks, I suppose. The leaf size does change dramatically depending on how much sunlight it's getting. If I remember correctly, the leaves actually get smaller with less sun. It does have an interesting dimple pattern. So I know the Crinkle 8 has these like little divots in the leaf. The Hoya Mathilde definitely has divots, very gently textured in there. Extremely hard to see without light hitting it just right. It's doing okay. It grew quite a lot. I initially got it as a plant like this high. And I put out a couple vines. I've propagated it a couple times, but this little tip, this little tendril over there, has at the very top has decided it's got nowhere to go. So I suppose it's no longer going anywhere. The other little tendrils are starting to continue moving. I think the weather change may have helped with that. So yeah, that's the Hoya Mathilde. And I think... oh, no, there's one more Hoya that I can show before moving on. So this is going to be very hard to see. This is a Hoya GPS, and I can't angle it because it's full of water. I chopped it into several cuttings to see if I can get a large cluster of these guys, because I think they're kind of cute. They were on sale, and as one does when they're on sale, you consider making a purchase, and then you have your purchase, and then you're like happy with it. Oh, and there's also this Hoya retusa I don't think about very much because it has put out maybe like 4 sets of leaves. There's a couple small ones. I still think it has mites of some sort, flat mites. Totally unpredictable. Will it ever turn into a bushy Hoya? I don't know. Yeah, I know it's definitely got growth. Like there's these little leaves pushing out, but it seems to just be really weird. One of the issues I had with it was consistent root rot. Of course, when it arrived, it was also honestly not doing well. So we'll see. It does seem to be pushing out leaves now with small spacings along the stem. So I'm hoping the flat mite issue is no longer an issue. But we'll see. This one will probably be in recovery for honestly at least another half a year. That is the Hoya retusa update. Now, for a plant that can't be taken out here because it is super stuck and coiled into everything, this is my Hoya crassiopetiolata, and also a baby linearis cutting over here, but this is fairly firmly affixed into position. I'm probably going to cut it apart at some point again, but in the meantime it looks like it's enjoying itself. The leaves are nice, they're slight burning where it's touching light, but it's not that big of a deal. And next to that, between the black velvet, is a Hoya rotundifolia. I have no idea if this was documented or not, but I finally purchased one and it finally started spreading. The leaves are struggling to stay upright without a strong support. I'm a little too lazy to actually anchor it to anything. Originally it was just propped up against the back wall like this one is. Oh, and I suppose hiding behind here is also an upside down Hoya polyneura that's finally getting comfortable. So I think that is the update. I don't think I purchased any other Hoyas that need to be documented. So the major purchase, I'm pretty sure, since the last time, was the Hoya GPS. I'm thinking that it might be a little less cute than I thought, which is always the way when you are wanting something for quite some months, you get it, and it's like, yeah, it's nice. It's not mind-blowing, but it's nice. I'm looking forward to it growing. It's got really, really cute leaves. I think I'd prefer it to be bushy rather than, like, the Hoya rotundifolia already does this, like, weird chunky leaf thing for me, and that's quite fun. I think I'm going to try propping up that tendril as well. But it's just a little less cute in person than I thought it would be. So, yeah, lesson learned, I suppose. And I think once the Hoya rotundifolia flowers, I'll be super excited. I was extremely excited when the lobii flowered, and that was my least favorite for Hoya up until then. So, I think at this point, there's a few more I'm interested in, and I think I'm going to start looking more towards bloom patterns. And I think I'm just going to keep this guy, like, just for fun. I don't love the growth pattern. It's in clusters, and then a long vine, and then a cluster. But the vines are hilarious. It's just creeping and crawling around all these little things. And it's an extremely robust plant, even though it gets heavily underwatered with how warm it is in here. But it's doing alright, so yeah, I would highly recommend the crassiopetiolata if you are on a budget. It's a very, very cheap Hoya in comparison to a lot of others, and it grows really well, so that's it.